Welcome to The Explainer. All right, today we're jumping into something pretty wild. It's a theory that pulls together astronomy, high-level physics, and even ancient wisdom, and it's all pointing to a huge global crisis that's supposed to kick off in 2025.
So you see the question right there. A coming ice age, megaquakes, the stars. What in the world could connect them? Well, according to the source material we're digging into, they are absolutely connected. The idea is that we're heading into a really unique and frankly challenging time for Earth. So let's get into it and see what this theory is all about.
Okay, here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at the crisis itself, supposedly starting in 2025. Then, we'll get into the cosmic alignment that's said to be the cause. After that, we'll explore this idea of Earth's shifting zodiac, a new kind of energy that might be a solution, and we'll wrap up with how this all forms a synthesis of wisdom.
All right, part one. So what is this crisis we're talking about? Let's take a look at the chain of events that the source material says we should be watching for, starting really soon.
Okay, so the big one, the central prediction, is that we're heading into what it calls a feared mini ice age, starting in 2025. And the reason? The theory points to the potential collapse of the North Polar Vortex. You know, that giant spinning mass of super cold air that's supposed to stay put over the Arctic. Well, the idea is that it's going to break down, become unstable, and start spilling that cold air all over the place.
And here's the kicker. This isn't just about getting colder. According to this theory, that mini ice age is just the first domino to fall. It's supposed to trigger a whole cascade of other problems. We're talking massive floods, megaquakes, tsunamis. Then you've got serious issues with the food supply chain. It could make the sixth mass extinction even worse. And, this is a wild one, it could even lead to a degeneration of human neurology.
So you're probably thinking, what could possibly cause all of that at once? Well, the theory says the trigger isn't something on Earth at all. It's all about what's happening way out there in space, a really rare and powerful alignment of the planets.
Okay, get your calendars out, because the source material gets super specific here. It points to a key window in 2025, starting around March 29th and running through the end of July. But the real peak, the moment of maximum instability, is predicted for April 12th and 13th. That's when the sun and moon are in these CUSP positions. What does that mean? Basically, they're sitting right on the fence between two zodiac signs, and the theory claims this puts a huge amount of geophysical stress on our planet.
Now, this whole setup actually has a name in Vedic astronomy, Kala Sarpa Yoga. Think of it like this. All the planets line up on one side of the solar system, kind of like a cosmic parade, as the source calls it. The belief is that this creates this intense, focused pull of gravitational and, well, other kinds of energy.
And as if that wasn't enough, there's another layer to this. At the same time, we've got Pluto making a very long journey through Capricorn. We're talking from 2025 all the way to 2043. And this isn't just a background event. It's believed to seriously ramp up the pressure, amplifying all the stress from that initial cosmic alignment.
Okay, so we've talked about the crisis and the alignment. Now we're going to shift gears a little bit into something a bit more abstract. Because at the very core of this whole theory is the idea that the zodiac we all know, well, it might be missing a piece of the puzzle.
The source suggests we should be looking at two zodiacs, not one. On one hand, you've got the static wheel. That's the one you see in the horoscopes, with the 12 familiar signs. It's like a fixed map. But then there's the moving wheel, which is a bigger picture view. It takes into account that our entire solar system is actually moving through the galaxy. And in that view, there's a 28th constellation that suddenly becomes super important.
And that 28th constellation is called Abhijit. This is a huge deal for the theory. The whole claim hinges on this. During that 2025 crisis period, Earth is supposed to align directly with Abhijit. It's like our planet temporarily steps outside the normal zodiac circle and lines up with this other powerful point in space, which happens to be in Capricorn.
Okay, so if the problem is this massive cosmic alignment, what on earth could the solution be? Well, as you've probably guessed by now, the proposed solutions are just as unconventional, mixing some seriously advanced physics with some very ancient ideas.
Right, this is where it gets pretty deep, so bear with me. The research suggests we could potentially head off these crises by tapping into some really specific energy systems. We're talking about concepts from theoretical physics like magnon and skyrmion thermal channels, which in simple terms have to do with magnetism and heat on a tiny quantum scale. But it also talks about things like using streams of neutrinos to rebalance the Earth's core, and even using something called EK Gormukhi cymatics, which is all about the power of sound and vibration.
So why all this complex energy stuff? What's the point? Well, remember that special constellation, Abhijit? The theory goes that when we align with it, it actually disrupts a vital flow of energy to Earth, something the source calls 2D biomatter. The easiest way to picture it is like a cosmic food supply chain. It's this energy stream that flows from Abhijit and helps keep Earth stable, and during this alignment, that supply line gets cut off.
And that brings us to the whole point of the solutions. They're basically a giant workaround. The goal is to use these other energy sources we just talked about, the neutrinos, the thermal channels, to basically create a bypass, to reconnect that cosmic energy supply and get Earth's own internal systems from the very core all the way to the surface back in balance.
So you've probably noticed a pattern here, right? We're mixing quantum physics with ancient star charts. And that really gets to the heart of what this whole theory is about. It's arguing that to deal with problems this big, we need a whole new way of thinking, one that brings all these different fields together.
This quote you see here is pulled straight from the source, and it says it all, really. How and why modern, traditional, and ancient wisdom is discussed together. The whole idea is that you can't just rely on one thing. Modern science doesn't have all the answers, and neither does ancient wisdom on their own. The key is in the together.
And this is a fantastic example of what that looks like in practice. You're taking something from the absolute cutting edge of modern physics, like the idea of neutrino flows coming from the Earth's core, and you're linking it directly to something from ancient Vedic astronomy, the 28th constellation, Abhijit. It's about building a bridge between these two worlds to get a more complete picture.
So, at the end of the day, this whole thing leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on. Is the future of our planet written just in our science textbooks, or just in the ancient stars, or maybe it's written in the conversation between them? This theory suggests that the real breakthroughs might just be found in connecting the dots between ways of knowing that we've kept apart for way too long. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.